Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Sean Stallings. I'm the Interim Vice President for Student Affairs. Thank you so much for making it out this afternoon. I want to thank those who are in our off-site locations of Education and Broward Student Center for making the time. Unfortunately, we only have a short bit of time today, but today is just the beginning. It is not the end. So, though the events precipitating this meeting occurred in our recent and our extended history, we will use this opportunity to hear from our leadership and our community members, you. We're gathered here today to demonstrating our collective commitment to a diverse, equitable, inclusive community. We have people in the Broward Student Center, Education Building, and so as we move to an open mic session, I want to just go through some housekeeping things. I'll moderate the individual speaking. We'll have roaming microphones from left to the right, as well as those in the balcony. And as I said, we have people in our off-site locations of Education and Broward Student Center. So there'll be moments in which I would have to pause and take questions from those locations as well. All the members in this area will be able to hear those questions. And we will also have someone who's trying to capture those questions, comments, and concerns on the screen and to be documented to be used later. And you should be able to see those as well. We will not be able to solve the challenges of today, but today we are making a good faith effort to respond to the call to action and think through ways to move forward in our future. We received many emails and held meetings with many people about today's forum and the diversity of views, and are all unlikely to satisfy everyone. But we're going to do our best to try to respond to every concern and every comment that we do receive, which is why we're capturing it digitally. But indeed, this is an opportunity for us to hear from you about racism at the College of New Jersey. This is an opportunity to hear from you about some of the challenges, the future that you hope to uphold here at the College of New Jersey. So it's important that we're respectful, that we're honest, and a bit vulnerable as we share. So without further ado, as I did say, we are short on time. So I thank you for coming, but I'm going to turn it over to our president, and then as we move on, I'll also ask individuals as well as you to introduce yourself when it is time for you to speak.
Thank you, Vice President Stallings, and thank you all for being here. So there's a long history of racial issues at TCNJ, and it's a history that I am just learning. What's clear is that racism has been a topic of many years of conversation, much effort, and forums like this one. Yet missteps, inadequate action, and outcomes that are shy of our vision have resulted. And in this sense, we have failed. Let me cite an immediate example of a misstep. I failed to be explicit in my campus email about the incident that immediately precipitated this forum. It occurred on the Friday evening before Thanksgiving, when a group of white students in Travers Wolf shouted racist slurs, including the N-word, out the window at 3 Black students who were heading to T-dubs inside the residence hall. It was not the only recent reported racist incident. Earlier this month, a Black employee entered a restroom in an academic building on campus and found the N-word scribbled on the wall of a stall with an arrow pointing to a toilet overflowing with feces. There have been other ugly instances of racial hate, aggressions, and microaggressions, some officially reported and many not. Many on campus labor consistently to make this campus a healthy, safe, welcoming, and inclusive place. I want to take a moment to publicly acknowledge that and recognize the daily work that goes into doing that. But our racist incidents reflect that we are not yet healthy, safe, welcoming, and inclusive to the level that we aspire and that we must demand. So let me speak to our failure. And I'm going to offer a few actions then and commitments to address it and open the forum then to those gathered. If you cannot walk across this campus without being targeted or the fear of being targeted with racist slurs from other members of the campus community, then we have failed. If you cannot work on this campus without seeing or the fear of seeing the N-word or other expressions of racial hate and insult on walls where you work, then we have failed. If you do not know where to go or to whom to report slurs and hate, or if you did not think it was worth it to try, or if you do not trust that there will be an adequate response, then we have failed. If you are a student, faculty member, or staff member who is exhausted and consumed from spending countless hours and energy beyond your regular responsibilities to serve as a sounding board and mentor to victims of racial bias and racist remarks, then we have failed. If the penalties for racist behaviors are insufficient to deter other instances of racist behavior, then we have failed. If the campus climate and culture do not make people feel safe, welcomed, or included in the classrooms, residence halls, offices, dining halls, and all other TCNJ spaces and events, then we have failed. And if all we do in response is have forums without follow-up, then we have failed. Thank you. Roman, could you put up the slide, please? Roman, could you get the slide up, please? Roman there? Oh, thank you. So, do I get it going? Yeah, I think I can get it going. Yeah, okay, there we go. So, the actions and commitments that I'm about to offer for TCNJ are designed to address these failures, and I've summarized them on the slide. You can see the kinds of things that have been happening here and prolonged here. So, lack of attention, poor communication, lack of resources, insufficient response, physical and emotional overwork, and so forth. More important for me now is what we're going to do about it. So from these failures come a set of actions and commitments to address structural and policy failures. They are not the only things we could be doing, but it is a way of setting an environment within which we can be more successful. So let me step through those. First, creating a vice president. I put it in brackets for inclusion. I had named universal inclusion. The title is not important. What's important is that we have a person sitting on the cabinet, reporting to the president, crafting and implementing a strategic agenda for equity and inclusion, waking up every day to work on these issues, working with faculty, staff, students, and alumni. So I will work with others on campus to craft that job description to make sure it's what we need as a campus. Second, within that office, an office of whatever we call it, inclusion, to bring together now separate offices of the Chief Diversity Officer and the Director of Student Diversity and Inclusion, to gain synergy, to gain clarity, to gain visibility on the campus, to promote their ombudsman functions so that people know where to go in cases of racial hate and slurs, to build stronger data, stronger programs, communications, partnerships in support of inclusion. As a part of that, I think it's up there. As a part of that, I have it under there in the parentheses there, making sure that the position of the Director of Student Diversity and Inclusion is funded by institutional dollars. Some of you may not know it's currently funded by student dollars. So make sure it is a true campus partner to this work. As also part of that, to propose creating the positions or roles, I should say, of faculty fellow, staff fellow, student fellow. Perhaps that's the student government vice president for diversity and inclusion. We can figure that out. We can figure out the details of this to work closely as campus partners with the vice president, with the Office of Inclusion, to reinforce communications and partnerships, to multiply the channels for education and action. And again, I will work with the campus community to figure out the details of that. Next, an action to create a bias response team. We've had these at TCNJ before. They have not been as visible or as active as we want. So this would be a broad-based team of campus leaders. Again, we will figure out who those should be. But for example, Title IX coordinators, the chief diversity officer, someone from disability services, student success, health and wellness, the faculty, staff, and student fellows, plus ad hoc depending on the issue. The role of a bias response team is to ensure and to execute processes for comprehensive institutional response to bias, discrimination, hate crimes, to remedy the effects of those incidents, to establish the protocol for bias incident reporting, to communicate with the campus on incidents, trends, outcomes, and other information useful to the community. The bias response team, like the other things on the screen here, will have broad consultation to figure out the details of that. Also, action, review the student conduct code. I will charge the Vice President for Student Affairs to pull together a team to assess and make recommendations to ensure that there are appropriate sanctions for bias incidents and hate crimes. Fifth, I will provide adequate funding for these actions. And that will include a fund that will support the programming to educate the campus about a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive community. And finally, and several of you wrote me about this, finally, I want to put the possibility forward to become a Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Campus Center. That is a national designation. There will be 150 named across the country. We have time now to think about it as a community, whether we want to apply for this and the work and the alignment that goes along with it. The application is due in March. I would propose that we explore it now and decide whether as a campus community we want to do that with all that entails. Thank you. I want to now turn it back to Vice President Stallings and those on the stage to begin and those gathered to put forward other ideas. Other insights that we need to know. And a prompt I might suggest, rather than sort of talking specifically about these, which are still in formation, but absolutely our commitments, is what would a new vice president for inclusion at the College of New Jersey need to know? Need to know about our campus, need to know about our community, to be informed about it, and also to prepare an agenda to address these issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, President Foster. So as a reminder, we're going to take some feedback from members of our community. We're going to start with our representatives on the stage, and there may be times where I'll have to stop the questions or comments from Kendall so we can move over to one of our remote locations. The comments, you should see them on the screen in a few moments as they start to come through. But I want to first begin by asking the members on stage to answer the question posed by President Foster. What would you want the Vice President of Inclusion, or whatever that title happens to be, to know, to be aware of, to address when they arrive on campus? Beginning.
Okay, so hello everyone. It's nice to see so many people out. It's really a great showing. My name is Ishwain Houghton. Most people call me Ish for short. I'm the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion for Student Government. And from a student perspective, what we've been noticing all year is just that a lot of communities don't feel supported, whether that be from a racial standpoint, from an LGBTQI+ standpoint, whether it be from a mobility standpoint. There's just a lot of communities who feel like they don't have a voice, feel like they're not being supported by the campus community, who don't even know who to go to talk to. And it's kind of like very interesting because we have a lot of support systems, but not a lot of people know of them. So I think what's important for the new Vice President of Inclusion to know is just that the students feel like they don't have a voice. They feel like they need to be heard. They feel like our values don't reflect them. They feel like administration kind of just does a lot of things and we don't get a lot of say. So I think just more contact, more support, more reaching out to, more actually meeting students where they're at and actually responding and not reacting to what they need.
Good afternoon, I'm Yvonne Cruz. I am the director of the EOF, Education Opportunity Fund program, as well as the Center for Student Success, which houses our Pride Mentoring program. I'm also an alum of this institution, so I've got a 28-year history here. And this stuff hits home, it's personal, and what I would want a new vice president coming in to know is we've now blurred the lines between feeling uncomfortable to feeling unsafe. And I recognize that maybe we aren't actually unsafe. In some cases, we actually may be. But the fact that someone feels that way affects how they can perform, affects how they could exist on this campus, leave their mark. The whole concept of having a caring and friendly, inclusive environment, our core values, right now are feeling like words. And I think there have been tremendous strides, even in recent times, especially with the Director of Diversity and Inclusion, Don Trahan, that position, what he's been doing. So I do want to acknowledge that there have been strides. We're falling short, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Let's build on what we have, make sure that students know where they can go, make sure that staff and faculty know where they can go to be heard. Be sure that, and I was so happy to hear you acknowledge that the how things are addressed in resolutions, that needs to be shared with the community, because the unseen or unknown resolutions, consequences, lead to a perception that nothing's happened. I know enough, and I'm connected enough to all these different offices, that I know things are happening, but recognize the perception is so powerful that that sense, perception that nothing's happening means silence equals acceptance. And that's powerful for those who have been affected. That's powerful for those who are out there perpetrating some of these things, feeling emboldened. We have to recognize that the current climate across our nation is very different now. And whichever side you land on, we need to coexist here, and better than coexist. I think we can hold ourselves to a higher standard because we're an institution of higher education. We should be here for open-mindedness, and all those pretty words need to result in what I love seeing from Dr. Foster, action. What are we going to demand of our students, our faculty, our staff? We can't expect to live in a utopian society here. We can't expect things to be perfect, that every student admitted is going to have a certain mindset. Every faculty or staff member hired is going to be a certain way. No, we can't demand knowing people's beliefs and thoughts. We can demand behavior and conduct. So everything that they've shared so far, I think this new person needs to help us heal, but in concrete ways, help us learn and grow in measurable ways, and be able to share that with this community on an ongoing basis so we see how we're inching forward. So will we see when we've fallen back, and not be ashamed of that, because we're only going to learn from those. And anything that's hidden or unshared leads to people losing credibility. And we can't have that here. This is not the first, but we've been building on different things, and it's a little scary that these things are still happening but we've got to acknowledge it. So owning it and acknowledging it and building on it, and everyone being open to it is a key piece. But this person, this leader, needs to embody that and needs to make sure that this community has trust and faith in what they're going to do. Because if that person's brought on and doesn't have a sense of credibility, then all the projects coming from that office will fall on deaf ears. So it needs to be a buy-in from not just who we're going to hire, but from this community, that we are going to be a community that holds each other accountable. Can't be that one person, that can't be that office. We need to hold each other accountable. And we then need to have the open ears and open minds to when you get the feedback that what you've just said or done is a microaggression. Well, I didn't mean it. Well, just because you didn't mean stepping on my toe doesn't mean it didn't hurt. So learning from those opportunities.
Hi, I'm Professor Brown Glaude. I'm the chair of the Department of African American Studies and Sociology. Oh, okay. If I was to have a conversation with this vice president or vice provost or whatever position this is on inclusion, my first question would be to this person or persons is, what the heck do you mean by inclusion? What does that even mean in the first place? We have to be very clear about this because our safety is in jeopardy here. A person who may advocate for inclusion may want to make the argument that, or may ask the question, you know, is the environment safe for everyone? Well, that might be a good question to ask. However, somebody's feeling of safety might come at the expense of somebody else. So a person who's interested in equity is going to ask the question, whose sense of safety will be jeopardized? Whose experiences will be silenced in order to make other persons feel comfortable? I'm not interested in that. And so whoever decides to take this position, or whoever people, two people, whatever, decides to take this position, I want clarification. What framework are you using to navigate this landscape? We have to operate on a framework of equity and justice. I have no patience for flowery language around inclusion and diversity, and let's have a kumbaya moment. I am done. I'm done. I'm done. And I'm not the only one. I see you. I'm not the only one, right? I have the privilege to articulate it here on the stage, but I'm not the only one. I see my students. I see you. So I know I'm not the only one who's frustrated here. But this is an awesome moment. I appreciate the comments of Dr. Foster. She seems to mean business. Let's hold her accountable too. And we have to hold ourselves accountable. Let me tell you something. We can't have one office, and Yvonne touched on this, we can't have one office holding the responsibility of changing the climate. We all have to be responsible. And you know what that's going to mean? We're going to need anti-racist training on this campus so that we know what the heck we're doing. And the anti-racist training has to start from the top all the way to the bottom. If we are serious about this thing, then let's do this. Let's do this, right? This is our community. We need to take ownership of this. So let's do this together, right? Right? And so what I would want to know from this person or persons is, what you coming with? What you coming with? Because I'm not here to play games. There's too much at stake here.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. And that's precisely the kind of feedback we want to hear, because this is really very fruitful information that we can take and move forward and do something positive. I want to give you an opportunity to speak as well. So I want to look for our assistants. I got one here. So by all means, raise your hand. Someone will come around with a mic for you. And again, just a reminder, we do have people in other locations that we also want to make sure we have some questions there too. Okay. Okay, we have a question over here in the front.
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Brock, and I'm a senior finance and political science major here. And the first class that I took here at TCNJ was an FSP called Diversity and Its Responses. And it was from a professor called Sarah Shartok, in the Department of Political Science. And I come from a community back home that is analogous both in skin color and political thought. And coming here and taking that FSP, it has made me a much more understanding and open person. But I want to emphasize that it made me more understanding. And I have friends at this college who don't have that level of understanding yet. And that's because some of the diversity classes that they take here are more history-based classes, where they look at the history behind things rather than the understanding. I physically got to see these, like some of the theories that we were studying in class put into action. We volunteered at different locations in Trenton, like Task at the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen. And there we put into practice what we've learned. And in class, we sat at a round table and discussed these issues on a personal setting. And it was the most eye-opening class, and I can say this with beyond a shadow of a doubt. It was the most eye-opening class that I've taken in college, and I'm so beyond proud that I took it in my first class here at TCNJ. And what I hope for the future is that classes that are focused on giving this diverse community like a chance is that like other students have the ability to get that understanding, because I think it's been so beneficial for me, and I think that there are so many others on this campus that can benefit from it too.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Foster, very much for your comments, and thank all of you for your comments. I just want to add something to what Dr. Brown-Glad was saying, that I would like to be very clear, and I know that I'm not speaking just for myself, that when TCNJ says inclusion, that we need to be very clear as a campus that we're not talking about being inclusive to people who are racist, who are anti-gay, who are anti-trans, who are anti-Jewish. That you are not safe here. You are not safe to use the N-word here. Racism is not, this is not a place where racists, open racists are safe. And that's what I want to see. I don't want to hear any talk about it. It's okay to have a conversation about differing political perspectives. But anybody that wants to bring back slavery or thinks that undocumented immigrants shouldn't exist and that trans people shouldn't exist, there's certain political perspectives that we don't want here. We don't want them here. And it is not possible to be a space that is inclusive of people who brandish the Confederate flag, who use the N-word, who think trans people are sick. It's not possible to be inclusive for those people and also be inclusive for Black students, students with disabilities, trans students. So we do have to choose. TCNJ has to choose. Yeah. Because marginalized and oppressed people, and you know who you are sitting in this audience, you already live with discomfort. You already live with emotional pain, and you're already struggling to survive it and still excel in your positions as students, as faculty. And it is really hard work that we don't get paid for. So, if a Black student's dollars and a trans student's dollars and a Jewish student's dollars and a student's dollars, the dollars of the students with disabilities count as much as the able-bodied white, middle-class, upper-class Christian student, if their dollars count as much, then they need to get the same quality of education. They need to also feel, at the very least, if not free from bigotry, they need to feel supported around making this a space that's not going to be bigoted anymore.
Do we have any questions up top? Any questions up in the?
Hi. I just wanted to ask and make sure that when we're talking about anti-racist training, which I think is a great idea, that also extends to campus police.
Top to the bottom. Top to the bottom. Top to the bottom.
Because I've been on this campus for 3 years, and after like experiencing bias from a campus police officer against my family, who assumed that we couldn't speak English because our car was parked in the wrong location. I can't even begin to imagine. And I've heard stories from my friends walking back to the towers that are singled out, that are questioned, and that should not be happening on their campus. That is completely unacceptable.
Thank you. Are there any questions? We have a question in which room? Okay, so we're going to turn to Education 115.
They just stand wherever you
Oh, stand on it. And then that little part.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Dr. Cynthia Fulford, and I have a couple ideas that I just want to share. And I also want to make sure that if there's opportunity for me to be involved in the committee, that I take advantage of that. However, I did my dissertation on what prepares students to have a better comfort level when it comes to issues of diversity. And I want to address the point that the president made. We have to look at different elements when we create programs. We have to have a knowledge-based component. We have to look at behaviors. We have to look at their comfort level. How do we help students who did not grow up in diverse areas on all sides have become more comfortable working with others? And that begins with building trust. And we cannot keep expecting faculty, staff, and students to work together when we don't trust each other fully yet, particularly around issues of race and other diversity. With that being said, my research showed that students who were in diverse groups, students who were mandated, I hate to use the word mandated, but took a general education course around diversity. It can be around math diversity, it can be science diversity, it can be by different schools, but students who participated in diverse educational knowledge-based groups tended to have an increased ability to work and appreciate diversity. Students who engaged in controversial dialogues in a safe space also took advantage of that. And those who receive mentoring models, and that's us. And we're asking students to do what sometimes we ourselves don't do enough of, and that's allowing ourselves to be uncomfortable and still advance. So in terms of what could we do, I would like to see, and I've seen this on other campuses, co-curricular programming grants, where if the president is going to provide funding, adequate funding, as she says, I would like to see co-curricular grants for the students, as well as co-curricular grants between the students, faculty, and staff to do projects together. There's definitely research opportunity in that area, but they may have to have support, particularly through some of the difficult times. Another piece I'll see is performance evaluations, or what are some incentives to help encourage faculty and staff to engage. Now, in a former position, we try to move away from diversity talks and move to just being inclusive in how we do things. So instead of saying, let's talk about diversity, which we did, we didn't eliminate that factor, but we also put them in social arenas where they would not have normally gone together, and just watch them participate. We don't have to say diversity all the time to have a diversity of opinion and be relegated to just our race, our gender, or some other element, when I'm just a human being in this society and I have opinions on all of these different areas. I just happen to be a Black female. That being said, I also want to add fellows. I think there should be an institution-wide, you have it up on the slide, fellows of faculty, staff, and students, but it should be an institutional-wide training, but it also needs to be implemented within individual colleges where some of the people at the institutional level cannot get to. I can't get to the students in the same way a student can get to a student, but we need to prepare students from all backgrounds, like the gentleman who stood up earlier and said that he is interested in being a part of this, and help all those who are interested. And if we focus on those who are interested, they will then be a support to helping us make sure that we can reach students that we can't get to. But we got to remember the concept of the stages of development. And there are going to be some rough moments, and we got to push through those rough moments. And part of that will include understanding there needs to be faculty and staff group too, but some of that won't occur without incentives. And some of that takes, of course, the time and the effort to figure out how we're going to do this. So those are just some of my initial thoughts.
Thank you. We're going to turn to Broward Student Center.
Hello. I am Ashley Ian. I am a sophomore accounting major at the College of New Jersey. So just hearing the discussion, it saddened me to hear just how the students in Travisville said such horrible things to African American students who came here in order to learn and get their education. It's not why I came here, at the very least. Let's see. Sorry. It's a bit nerve-wracking, but based on my own experience, racism isn't something that you're born with. It's something that you learn. It's something you learn possibly from your parents, your friends, your community. But because it can be learned, it is something that you can learn from people who know better, who know what it's like to be inclusive and to be diverse. For most of my life, I consider myself to be a relatively diverse individual, racially and in other aspects. I'm Asian, as you can tell, but I am half Korean and half Chinese. But my dad is not, even though he's ethnically Chinese, he was a refugee from Cambodia who came to America as a way of making a new life and starting over from the ashes of a genocide. And I hope that TCNJ can become a place where people can feel welcome no matter what category people may put them into, whether it could be for being of a different race, who historically has been prejudiced against for the color of skin, which is a horrible thing. Because if you think about it, everyone is human, no matter what color they have, or color they have in their skin, or their sexuality, or their own viewpoints, or whether they don't feel comfortable with their own gender. So I hope that TCNJ can become such an inclusive environment where people can feel welcome and not feel like they're alone, and feel like that they will be judged against, or feel sad that they have no place to turn to and will only be pointed against and looked at with faces filled with disgust. But yeah, I feel like I elaborate more, but I'm a little shy. I've never been before such a large audience before. I apologize. But yeah, I hope that one of the reasons why I came to TCNJ was because it had its CAPS program. It was out of all the schools I've visited, it was the one that distinctively during the tour was noted out to me. And I'm like, I want to go to this school because I feel like I could find the help that I need, whether from having had depression for many years, or finding that this school finally I could find some help, rather than having parents who sort of look down upon you and say, what's wrong with you, sort of thing. And that sucks, because who wants to be told that by their own parents, or even by their own friends, or people that they care about? And if you think about it, you can't choose your parents, or sometimes you can't choose the community you live in, but at least in college, you can pick which one you want to go to and feel, hey, I can feel safe here, and I feel like I can get the education that I'm looking for, and also the extracurriculars and opportunities that I want without being judged upon. But yeah. But yeah, thank you for offering this forum. I just heard about it relatively recently, but I'm glad that you can give students and faculty and staff a voice where they can feel that they will be heard. Thank you.
Yes.
Here we have.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Nemi Thomas, and I'm a sophomore here at TCNJ. I wanted to address a couple of points. It seems like we're forgetting everything that actually happened and addressing the actual situation. I noticed that Res Ed is not on the panel right now, but I just wanted to point out, how are you training CAs to know what to do in these type of situations? Because from what I've heard and from what I know is that CAs are not trained to know that since this was a hate crime, that police should have been called and it should have been filed. So that's one thing that really needs to change. And as well as, I feel like the college needs to be transparent with us on what's going on and what actions are being taken towards the students who committed these hate crimes. What is going on and what is happening? Because we don't know. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what kind of repercussions that are being taken towards those students and what they're doing to make sure that this is not happening again and this is not going to fly by.
Thank you. And just to brief you, we're taking feedback, and we're getting the questions. So with the specific questions such as that, we're going to respond, and that information will go out. So and we do have an answer, but I want to make sure we hear from as many people as we can. But we do have answers for that.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Jimenez. I am a senior. Hi, history secondary education major here. I have a few comments, questions. My first comment is I am actually a community advisor here on campus, and I can attest to the fact that our training isn't as valuable as it could be with inclusion and diversity. It was a little better this year, but it was more of a conversation about what inclusion and diversity is, less about how to handle conflict situations when it comes to our job. My second question is, how are professors being trained on anti-racism? And not just on what racism looks like or what non-inclusivity looks like, but also who our students are, who are we, where do we come from, and how does where we come from affect our product here at college, because that has a huge impact on who we are and what kind of students we are. On top of that, how are we hiring professors and faculty on campus? Are we doing are we doing it by being inclusive and thinking about hiring staff that aren't all who just look the same? And if we are we just picking a few that look different, or a few that act different, or a few who have different backgrounds? Or are we doing it in a purposeful way of making sure that we're hiring staff members and faculty members and professors who represent students that come from different backgrounds as well? Thank you.
There was a comment here. Okay. No, I think it's you. Yes.
Hello. Hi, my name is Queen. I'm an African American Studies major. I'm a junior here at the College of New Jersey. We've been talking about diversity and inclusion, and I want to just point out that I'm here to talk about Trenton specifically, considering that Trenton is like the local impoverished Black community that TCNJ loves to do service work in. And considering that I am one of the student advisors on the Social Justice Task Force, I know one of the things that the Social Justice Task Force at TCNJ wanted to do was recruit students from Trenton. And I can attest, because I've been on all these programs with these students, that I've seen more Trenton bodies there, and they're Black bodies, they're bodies that look like me. So my question is, how is TCNJ claiming to be diverse when things like this happen and they don't want to name it as racial violence? How are we consistently recruiting from Trenton and doing service work in the community, and we're allowing racism to persist and can't even call it racism? TCNJ wants diversity in bodies, but not actually diversity in thought and diversity in praxis, and that's the issue. And before we can do things like go into a Trenton community that's predominantly Black and poor, we have to educate the community. We need to understand the different levels of racism, not just on a personal level, but on different levels, because racism operates on many different spectrums and many different levels. Now, how do we do this? A prime example is we have a book every year, right, that the freshmen are required to read a part of their FSPs. Why not make that a book that's about understanding the different components of racism, how racism doesn't have to be overt, but it could also be covert as well? Investigating the freshman buildings, considering that's when you're fresh out of, home, all the views at home, you're not exposed to different things, because racism doesn't just happen in Travers and Wolves, it happens in Centennial Hall too. It happens in all the res ed halls. I can remember explicit moments of racial violence within that happened to me and my friends during my freshman year that consistently happen. So those are things that we need to address before we go into a community and start recruiting people from that community.
Let me go up top.
Right. All right, so my name's Peter Malinsky. I'm a junior chemistry major here at the College of New Jersey. I just want to bring up a few points. In terms of racial slurs, I just want to make sure student conduct, there is a strict and direct consequence to any hate crimes that should be in play. And comments like that should not go lightly. Also, I'm a chemistry major. And like the gentleman who stood up, his FSP taught him a lot about diversity. Mine was about globalization. And it took me to this year to have a lovely professor by the name of Dr. Leanne Francis, who stood up before, to teach me about intersectionality, to teach me about my own sexuality, as well as the sexuality of others, genders, etc. There is not enough information, activities to engage people of all races, all sexualities, and all mindsets together. There's a lot of social segregation on this campus. And I feel that there should be a movement to correct that. Thank you.
I'm going to go over to the Broward Student Center.
Go ahead. Hello, my name is Lauren DeSales, and I'm the current Executive Director for the Student Finance Board here on campus. And first, I would like to thank you for committing to use college funds as opposed to student dollars to pay for the Director of Diversity and Inclusion salary. I think that's a really important move. Students here on campus have buy-in to this, and I want to see a continued effect to have buy-in from the campus and administrators. My second point is that this cannot be a standalone position, this new vice president or the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, which is currently a one-person office. So we need to have more support for this person as opposed to just a single person, and we need more support for this office as well as the Office of Disabilities. And then my third point is that students in general shouldn't be able to avoid diversity and inclusion in practice and in thought. I think that the way that the college currently is that the students who have buy-in are here, are at this forum, are participating, and then the students who are avoiding it continue to do so. So I think that there needs to be widespread programming and classes across campus that meets the needs of all students and make sure that every student here on campus is able to feel safe as opposed to just the students who have buy-in and want all students to feel included. Thank you.
A question up front here.
Hello? Okay. Hi. So I'm Artemis Frayne. I'm a sophomore. I'm a disabled student, and I'd like to know why Megan Suey is all by herself in the disabilities office. That's all.
So the questions, you want to respond now?
Because the issues today were focused particularly on race, it's by no means the only issue here, but I've already committed funds to get another position into that office, and there's also discrete available.
Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Conyer. I'm a brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. 06. Shout out to the good brothers. I'm demanding change on this campus. I'm demanding tangible consequences for the individuals who confessed to being involved in a hate crime. Because 60 years ago, being called these types of things is a death sentence for a Black man. And this happened to 3 of them. And I don't think people are really understanding this. As my great frat brother said, true peace is not merely the absence of tension, it's the presence of justice. What are we going to do to address these circumstances? What are we going to do to make sure that this does not happen on this campus ever again? How are we going to make these people feel safe? How are we going to make people who commit these types of atrocities in fear of the consequences? Everybody should know exactly what happens with all of those people who confess, because it needs to be known, and they shouldn't be at this institution, because I don't want to represent this institution as homecoming king if they're going to call my neophytes all these types of things. So please, everybody just be mindful in the situations and circumstances you're in, and please do not undermine the situation. And let this be the first step. As I say to everybody, my motto is, today is the floor. Like, we need to do better tomorrow and every day going forward in order to change the climate on this campus.
Thank you.
Is it on? Okay. Hi, my name is McKenna Sampson. Hi, everybody. I am the secretary of the NAACP chapter here on TCNJ's campus. My president is Nia over there. Over break, we reviewed the student conduct policy, and we noticed that there's nothing in there that addresses hate crimes on campus. And frankly, if you are going to emphasize we have diversity and inclusion on our campus, you need to protect the diversity and inclusion on this campus. So my question is, when you go into the student conduct policy and editing it, which you said you were going to be doing, would you allow for students to be involved in that process, especially the NAACP, because we are a policy organization?
Yes. Yes. We have a question up here.
Hello? Oh, okay. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Russell. I'm a freshman here, and I went to a talk the other day about our liberal learning requirements, and I understand that there is a racial aspect to one of the liberal learnings we're required to take at TCNJ. The way it's been explained to me is that by the time you graduate TCNJ, you should have had a course in which you are more adept and you learn about racial issues and you can better combat them in your day-to-day life. My question is, why then is that not brought out at the start of our college experience?
Thank you. We're going to turn to the education building.
I think you can go to us. BSC. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kendall Stiles Schatz. I'm a senior political science student major. I think talking about this dialogue, it's important to also note that a lot of this stuff happens in group dynamics. It's not some sometimes it's not as big as students walking across campus and having the N-word called out at them, which is horrible and unacceptable. But this also happens on a micro level in your very own friend group. I remember sophomore year, I was hanging out with a group of friends, all white students, and a racial joke was made about how Black people can't swim because like crap doesn't float. And I immediately said something saying that's not cool, what is going on? And it ended up to be a whole like, oh, it's just a joke, like don't get political. And then later on, my friend pulled me aside and said, don't like get him riled up. That's just how he is. Like, don't make this political, don't make this a joke. It's just a joke. And I think going forward with this dialogue, I think each and every single one of us needs to know that if we start addressing these things, as small as just a group of would-be friends, we can enact change on a micro level, which will then impact the macro level. So I wanted that to just talk about group dynamic wise. We should all be doing this, not just our president who's doing an amazing job opening this forum up, but like know that even every single person, because the second you address that racism, the second that you're the one person saying, that's not cool, like explain that joke, why'd you say that? You're addressing racism head on. And yeah, you might like get a weird look, you might lose a friend, but are they really your friend if they have this type of mindset? So I'm hoping moving forward, we can all, thank you.
Just, we're gonna come up right here in front and then we'll come back.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Forgive me for not standing up, as I'm not up to it. My name's Kim Pearson. I'm a journalism professor here. I've been here for 30 years, all told. And I have two questions. The first is, I'm wondering why in the campus Clery report, bias crimes are not reported on as a category. I believe it is a UCR category, and I'm wondering why it doesn't show up in the report. The second is a request as we move forward, and I also want to acknowledge the fact that we're here today because a student who should not have had to deal with this at all took the risk of stepping forward and putting his name out in public. And I want to acknowledge him for that. But I want to ask that we be sure in everything that we do that we not create more opportunities for students and the most vulnerable people on this campus to do unpaid emotional and physical labor to fix the College of New Jersey. Can we structure this so that students get jobs, internships, academic opportunities, so that it can be connected to their academic study, to their curricular study, to their preparation for graduate programs, to their career opportunities? Because our students spend their time and energy trying to fix social work TCNJ while other students are moving forward in their careers. And I am committed to ending that. I did it as an undergraduate. My generation, many of whom are on the staff and faculty here, did that labor. It is not the jobs of the most vulnerable people in this community, whether they are people who serve our food or clean our bathrooms, or people who are the children of those people who are trying to survive on this campus. It is not our job to fix TCNJ.
Thank you. So in the interest of time, we're starting to run short on time. There's a couple of things, housekeeping things I want to remind you. We're getting all of these questions. We're going to respond. We're going to make sure these questions, the answers to these questions get out. And I'm sure there are going to be more questions that will come. There's also going to be a link available for you to continue to submit comments, questions, and concerns, so we can respond to those as well. And I'm sure there'll be questions about the responses. We'll try to answer those as well. But again, and we're running short of time, so I do apologize if we don't get to everyone, but this has been very, very good so far.
I can go? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Abuna, and I'm a senior here at TCNJ. Hi, everyone. I'm a sociology major, and I have a minor in African American Studies and Women's and Gender Studies. And first and foremost, right after this incident, I keep hearing people saying, well, maybe these students are from backgrounds that are not so diverse. Maybe they come from communities where racism isn't addressed. I completely understand that you are a product of your environment. We all are. But at the same time, if there was a class on how not to be racist 101, using the N-word would be the first thing I'd probably say. That's something where we're downplaying this. It's one thing if this incident was a microaggression. This was not a microaggression. This was someone using a slur that has its roots in racism in this country. This country was built on racism, and it's still there. And we're here acting like 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds don't know that the use of the N-word is wrong. You know, we come into college and we're young adults. We're in the in-between between high school and the real world. And they say college is where you get prepared for the real world. We see what's happening in the real world. You call someone the N-word, you think you're not gonna get caught, you get recorded. We're calling your boss and you're getting fired. So you know what? In the real world, that is a hate crime, and it should be treated as such. It should not be treated like it's a slight microaggression. This is a big deal. And in my opinion, even if those students are not suffering the consequences as if it is a hate crime, the student conduct board that is being formed right now, there should be strict guidelines that if something like this were to happen again, it should be treated like a hate crime, because that's exactly what it is. And if we're being prepared for the real world, these students should know that in the future, this will not be tolerated, and it shouldn't be tolerated at all to begin with. And second of all, because I'm a WGS minor and I am an African American Studies minor, I am in a lot of classes with students who take these classes because, let me just get rid of this requirement. They don't take it seriously, okay? It bothers me when I'm in one of my classes and there's that student in the corner on their laptop the whole entire time because they don't take this class seriously. You're upset about taking one class. You're uncomfortable about talking about racism, sexism, all these issues that affect underrepresented groups. You're uncomfortable because you have to take a class. This is my life. This is, a bunch of us have to live like this. These are our experiences. These are our experiences. It makes you uncomfortable to hear about it, to learn about it, but I have to live it. It makes you uncomfortable to hear that somebody calls someone the N-word. How would it feel if you were called that? How would it feel if your people had such a history in this country and you still didn't feel safe hundreds of years later? You're uncomfortable? Well, you should be uncomfortable. But you know what? There is a reason why these classes are put in place. And if you're gonna take a class, I understand that professors cannot do much, but for those students, there should be consequences. Don't come to class and use your laptop the whole entire time when this class is supposed to teach you about racial sensitivity. If you don't learn now, you're gonna be in the workplace. You're gonna be one of those people who's on Facebook being recorded, telling people to speak English, calling people the N-word. This is a time to learn. So if you call someone the N-word, it should be treated as a hate crime, and there should be no excuses because of your background. We're between the ages of 18, 22, even older. You should know better, and that's how it should be treated.
So we're gonna take one more question from here. We'll try to, it look like we have a couple outside of here, and then we'll wrap up. We'll give some closing remarks. Yes.
Okay, how everybody doing? The problem is this institution, y'all do this right here, y'all want to bust it underneath the rug like nothing happened. Let's get there. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. It's just that y'all don't push it underneath the rug so long, it got to this point now. I worked here for many years. I experienced it on my own. So this ain't what somebody telling me. This is what I seen. So all this right here, you talking about the time is up. You right, that time is up, man. Now you ain't here want to rush time. This has been going on over 20 years. So when is enough is enough? My son ain't never been in the hood. My son ain't never been to jail. My son ain't done a lot of things. And you know why? His daddy did to keep him not doing it. If my son would have did those things, all this wouldn't have been going on. It would have went way to the left. Me and this mother worked too hard, too long, sacrificed too many bills for my son to come here, to be called words that we never used in my home, man. Like that, man. There we go. And another reason why I'm here, to let y'all know, my son just don't have a mother. He got a daddy. So, and now y'all know that when daddy comes, daddy comes. I told you I got you. As we all say, I'm about to keep it straight 100. Now, when this incident happened, he called the right one. He called his mom. I ain't his mama. His mama, we on two different levels, as you can see. His mom, college educated, beautiful woman, different type of attitude. But when you call daddy, I'm coming. So guess what? Daddy here now. So I'm letting you know, because if I would have got that phone call, bro, if I would have got that call, what I do, Ma, I shut it down. I shut it down. Now, you keep talking about words and all this. Those words look real pretty. They look real nice, real understanding. But where the action at? Action start now, action start today. I don't want to hear about tomorrow, next week. We're going to have a meeting, we're going to get a group. The group is all here. Look at all these people. This is your group. If you want to put somebody on your board, they go on your board. You the president? Okay, we'll talk. And I'm telling you, face to face, I have experienced this. I worked in building service for years. I was a supervisor in building services. And when these things were brought to your attention 10, 15 years ago, you know what you did? You did what you're doing now. You sat down, you never stand for nothing. So now my question is, since I experienced it, now my son experienced it, we're on a whole different level now. A whole different level. And like I said, my son is different from me. And I raised him that way. Good boy. Never caused a problem. Never had no worries about him. Never had to worry about 2 o'clock in the morning where he was at. Called him anytime. He answered the phone. Hey, Dad, what's up? What's going on? That's how we do. But for him to come here and the money I spent for him to come here, Lord have mercy. I spent way too much money and pay y'all way too much money. I pay campus police way too much money. You in township way too much money for my son not to feel protected. My son not to feel safe. So when he got to call daddy, my safety come in numbers. My safety come at another expense. Because when my son is hurt, daddy hurt. When daddy hurt, he don't care about nobody else getting hurt. My son come first. First and foremost. You understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you hear me?
I absolutely.
Look at me, bro. Do you hear me?
Of course I hear you.
Yeah, you know who I am.
I know exactly who you are.
So you know how I am. You know how I get down. Well, let's keep that like that. So, Mark, we here. What you want to do? Let's ask the man. Y'all going all around all this. Let's ask the man. What you want to do? Daddy here. You want to talk about it now? We don't have to. But I'm letting everybody know. And I'm letting you know. Daddy here.
We're gonna go to the education building.
Hi. Okay. Hi, my name is Emma Eisenbiel. I'm a sophomore here at TCNJ. I'm an English secondary ed student with a women and gender studies minor. Forums like this and one we saw last year after the protesters came onto our campus and also spread hate speech that we don't want here at TCNJ because that's not what we want our community to be. And as two other students spoke about having FSPs that really help them open up their minds, and another student not having something, until later on that teaches him what intersectionality is. These kinds of activities and forums and sessions and classes need to be held and need to be mandatory from the moment we enter college. You can't wait until senior year to learn about how to be accepting in an environment because you're on your way out and you're into the real world. You have to learn from the beginning, and things like these need to be mandatory. A friend of mine and I were talking before this started. We had heard rumors that it was mandatory for freshmen, and we were really excited about that. And I tutor at the tutoring center, and I was talking to a few of my freshman students, and they didn't even know this forum was happening. I think things like this need to be mandatory, and for students, especially our younger students, to experience, even if they don't want to be here, because to be quite honest, my friend and I were talking, the students who need to be here and who need to be hearing these things and learning these lessons aren't here. It's the people who are supporting and who want this community to be where we need it to be. It's not the people who need to be here who are here. So things like this need to be mandatory, and they need to be mandatory at the start of college. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Jada Grisson. I'm a sophomore political science and English double major. And we've touched on a lot of things in this forum, and some among them are group dynamic and reflecting those perspectives we want to value in our staff. And just one thing I've noticed as a political science major is that we don't have any classes on politics that intersect with race. We have 2 on gender, we have them in terms of the political economy and all these other perspectives and topics, but we don't have any involving race, and I think that's really odd, especially for a department without any staff of color or permanent staff of color on hand. And I just think that's one of those things that's indicative of the kind of perspectives we value and the message we're trying to send in a department. And I know that's something I feel and others feel, especially as one of maybe several women of color who have political science as their major or a minor or something. They try and then leave because they don't feel welcome or they don't feel like they're really represented, like as a whole.
So, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to go ahead. So, hold on. What? All right, listen, hold on. Okay. I'm not even sure what you're saying out there, but it sounds like that you want to keep talking. But listen, hold on. We'll take it. So if you go, right, I'm trying to let others continue to talk. So I said yes, if we're going to take a couple more, but there's a couple of things. There's also going to continue this conversation. Is immediately after is a Lions Hour is going to take place in Broward Student Center 100. So there will be more. There's more opportunity. It doesn't end today. It doesn't end now. But yes, we will have to stop being here. All right, yes.
So I just want to, I promise I'll be very fast. I don't want anybody to be late. I've worked here for 24 years. I have loved every minute of it, and the reason was the students. I am only a library clerk, so I'm not a higher up. Some of you may or may not recognize me. I check your books out. What? Thank you. One of the students that risked coming here today is standing in the corner, sorry. Right after the incident happened, he came to work completely upset. I asked him what had happened because we have a very close relationship. I adore him, I love him. I was devastated that the police were not called immediately. And I am just beside myself over this happening after 24 years of working here. I have known other incidents occurring, being swept under the rug, regardless if you're a clerk like me or building services or any other capacity. We're all equal, period, end of story. And when something is reported, we always see it in the crime part of the signal about alcohol and all of that, which of course is horrible. Something like this with racism, the police were not even called. I don't understand where the reasoning or non-reasoning was. You know, if partying goes on, which I'm not advocating or not because I don't drink, but that's a different story. Right away, the police are called, you know, taken into custody. This happens to 3 innocent students. Nothing happens. It has nothing to do, black, white, purple, pink, gay, lesbian, it doesn't matter. This was swept under the rug. And they were waiting to see if my student was going to take the risk to go farther for it. And I am extremely proud of him and have never been so proud of him like I am today. I would also like to say, working here 24 years, this young lady, very articulate over here, I never knew we had an NAACP chapter here. This is the first time in 24 years I have heard that we have it. So I really thank you for informing everybody in such an articulate way that we have it. I'm very fortunate to be able to come to work every day and love being here because I love the students. That's why I am here. And I think everybody in administration needs to understand we are here for the students, regardless of what your position is. We're here for the students. And that respect needs to always be first and foremost in your mind when you report to this campus every day. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
I just want to say something really, really quickly, and I'm not talking to you guys as the vice president or intern. I'm talking to you as a student, as someone in the age group, as your peer. Like, this will not stop here. We will have action. I can promise you that. You can talk to me. I'm always accessible to every one of you guys. Throughout this year, we've been making moves. We've been doing all this. We know what we've been doing. This will not end here. And I can promise you, every single one, like, I feel it with you. Like, I feel it with Marcus. I feel it with everyone in here. I hear your concerns. They feel it too. This will not end here. And I can promise you that we will continue to fight. We will continue to stand together. We will continue to do everything that we need to do to make sure that everyone feels comfortable on this campus, that everyone's voice is being heard. This does not stop here. So even if we leave, keep making noise, keep making an uproar, keep doing what you're doing. We are going to make a change. So I understand your frustration. I understand where you're coming, and I feel it. More than just understanding, I feel it too. I am with you, and I will continue to stand with you. And there are multiple other students in the room. Everyone is working with you guys, and we will continue until something happens. Because as Aaron said before, we demand change, and change is going to happen. So I just want to assure you guys that as students, just as your peer, like I feel you and I understand you, and I'm sure every other student leader and every other administration, we feel the energy in this room. So I just want to assure you guys once again that action will be taken, and also keep us accountable. We're up here saying all these things, and you're right. Talking about actions, we need to see action. Keep us accountable. Continue to make noise. Go to the newspapers. Blow it up. Do something. We will not allow this to be brushed under the rug. And I just want to let you guys know.
Dejan? Yes, sir.
All right, for those who don't know me, my name is Dejan Ricketts.
And hey, y'all, it's Marcus. What's up?
Brothers of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Iota chapter, but 06. But for those who don't know us more personally, we were the ones specifically infected by the reason you guys are all here today. You guys have been talking a lot, and you guys asked specifically, what do you guys want to see done? What do we see done? Action, action, action. And now we're here talking the people who have been affected by it, saying like what we want to see done.
First thing, as a student, I want to thank you guys for all the support. There's a lot of people out here. I didn't expect these much people. Thank you specifically the African American Studies Department. You know, that's my major. I love y'all. You guys have supported me for my whole academia here. And lastly, a specific shout out and thank you to Dr. Don Trahan. He is a dear brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And just to be honest and frank, he needs to be in a better position. His position does not hold power in this institution. We have to look at our power imbalances. The president is just a figurehead. We need to talk to the board of trustees or everybody sitting over here, right? These are the people we need to talk to. We need, Don needs to be in a position that he's supposed to be the student's voice, and we come to him, but he's getting stopped and penalized by the Student Affairs Office because he can't do the things that he wants to do, that we want to do. We're here today. We're here today, right? We don't want a forum, we want action. I'm tired of talking. I know I said this is the place for non-emotion, but I'm gonna get a little emotional. That shit was traumatizing. Racial violence is traumatizing. Police brutality is traumatizing. All those things trigger things. I had a breakdown on Sunday because of this. And that's affecting my academics. So are these 8 students gonna pay for my academic semester if I gotta take off? They gonna pay for my loans this semester? No? So they need to get the fuck out of school, I'm sorry. They need to get expelled. If our student conduct says that if anybody throws an object out of the residence hall, they can get kicked out of housing. These students called us, and I'm going to be frank, and you're going to hear it today because you need to feel how I felt. They said, hey, nigger, 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 you fucking porch monkey nigger, get down, they're going to shoot us. And that's inclusive? I'm a student here. My mom has worked here since 1988. My dad's worked here. He's the son of the treasurer of the university. We're rooted in this community. And it's sad that I'm going on Facebook and seeing alumni saying that the TCNJ was the worst 4 years of their life because of stuff that the institution allows to happen. Don needs to be in this new position of the Office of Inclusion. He needs to have a stable position on this fucking campus. And I'm requesting that. Because he does so much. He's a one-man office. And you can't hold him accountable for the failures that the higher ups above him hold him to. No, that's not how it is. That's not how it's going to be. And that's simple. I don't know how else I feel. I want to thank you guys for coming out, literally, seriously. It means support. Make your voice heard. People will contain your voice. Go to social media. That's the fastest way your voice is going to travel. Speak your truth, because nobody else can speak your truth for you. Literally, nobody else can speak their truth for you. Speak your truth. Let it be known. Don't, report it. Report it. I understand. I'm Black too. I don't like going to the police station. Report it to somebody though. Because our issue is that we don't report it, so then it's not accurately represented in statistics. It's not even shown in our statistics. Let it be known. Speak up. Literally speak up. Talk to somebody. Talk to me. Because I will let your voice be heard. Let it be known.
And I think it's appropriate to end with Marcus and Dejan and Jabari. And as I said, there will be a Lions Hour that's taking place immediately following in Broward Student Center Room 100. And I appreciate the emotion. I appreciate the passion about these issues. It does affect our campus and our ability to do our work, our ability for our students to succeed and persevere and get through graduation, the point of them coming here. This is no joke. We do take it seriously, and we're going to take these comments and this feedback very seriously, and we're going to work towards a solution. It's going to take some time. It's nothing. There's a lot of things that the president has articulated. There's a lot of opportunities that you've talked about that's going to go into effect. There's going to take work to do. How do we go about doing it? We're going to solicit your feedback, your voices. So when we do call for your voices, please step up. Please step up. When we call you, we'll ask you to sit on committees. We'll ask you to be on work groups, but we do need you to step up. But I'm going to turn it over to President Foster to close out. And then again, if you wish to attend over to Broward Student Center.
Nothing to add. This has been awesome. I'm so grateful. I can't tell you as a new president what this feels like. Just keep on keeping on.
Okay.